Have you ever sent one slightly awkward message, and then felt your whole body tighten? Not because anything terrible happened. No one yelled. No one blocked you. No one even said anything. But suddenly, your brain opens a full investigation. Was that too much? Did I sound weird? Are they annoyed? Why did I say it like that? What if they think differently of me now? And the strange part is, the mistake itself might be tiny. A wrong word, a missed detail, a late reply, a joke that didn't land, a small error at school, work, or in a conversation. But inside, it does not feel small. It feels like a spotlight just turned on. Like everyone noticed. Like one tiny slip has somehow revealed something embarrassing, unacceptable, or deeply flawed about you. Here's what most people miss. You're not broken for reacting this way. You are not too sensitive, because your nervous system takes small mistakes seriously. And you are not weak because your mind keeps replaying something that other people might forget in 5 minutes. Sometimes, the brain does not react to the size of the mistake. It reacts to what the mistake seems to mean. So stay with this, because once you understand the meaning your brain is attaching to small mistakes, the whole pattern starts to look less like personal failure, and more like a survival strategy that has been running for too long. Today, we are talking about why small mistakes feel huge to you. Not just why you overthink them, not just why you replay them, but why your body can respond as if a tiny mistake is a social threat, a character flaw, or proof that you are about to lose approval. And later, this connects directly to something even deeper, the hidden machinery behind why your mind overthinks almost everything, not because it enjoys stress, but because it thinks scanning for danger will keep you safe. But first, we need to understand the mistake itself. Because for some people, a mistake is just information. For others, a mistake feels like exposure. Now we can take this apart calmly. Number 1. Small mistakes feel huge when they trigger shame, not just embarrassment. This usually looks like replaying one moment again and again. You do not simply think, I made a mistake. You think, what does this say about me? That is the difference. Embarrassment says, that was awkward. Shame says, I am awkward. Embarrassment is about an event. Shame is about identity. And here's the strange part. Shame can make a tiny mistake feel emotionally enormous because it turns one moment into a verdict. Maybe you forgot someone's name. Maybe you answered a question wrong. Maybe you said something clumsy in a group chat. The situation is small, but your brain starts building a bigger story. They think I'm careless. They think I'm stupid. They think I'm annoying. They finally saw the real me. Why does this happen? Often, it comes from a nervous system that learned early that mistakes were not neutral. Maybe mistakes led to criticism. Maybe people made you feel dumb for not knowing something. Maybe love, approval, or calm in the room depended on you getting things right. Not every person has a dramatic backstory. Sometimes it is just repeated small moments. Being corrected harshly. Being laughed at. Being compared. Being expected to be mature too soon. The cost is that your mind becomes a courtroom. Every small mistake becomes evidence. Every awkward moment becomes a case file. Every silence becomes a possible sentence. But here is the switch. Instead of asking, what does this prove about me? Ask, what actually happened? That one question brings the mistake back from identity into reality. I sent a message with the wrong tone is manageable. I ruin relationships is crushing. Your first job is not to convince yourself everything is fine. Your first job is to name the event without turning it into a self-attack. That is how the mistake starts shrinking. Number 2. Small mistakes feel huge when your brain confuses uncertainty with danger. This looks like needing immediate reassurance. You want someone to reply quickly. You want their tone to be warm. You want proof that nothing changed. And if you do not get proof, your brain fills the silence with worst-case explanations. Wait, this is the part most people misunderstand. Your brain is not trying to torture you. It is trying to complete an unfinished pattern. Uncertainty is uncomfortable for everyone. But for overthinkers, uncertainty can feel almost like danger because the mind treats, I do not know, as something bad is happening. So a small mistake becomes huge because it creates a question you cannot answer. Did they notice? Did they care? Are they upset? Will this matter later? And the brain hates open loops. It keeps checking, analyzing, comparing, and replaying because it believes that enough thinking will eventually create certainty. But the cost is heavy. You spend emotional energy trying to solve something that may not even be a problem. You become tense before anything has actually happened. And you may start asking for reassurance in ways that briefly calm you, but make the fear stronger next time. The switch is this: practice saying, "Unclear does not mean unsafe." Not everything needs an immediate answer. Not every pause is rejection. Not every neutral response is hidden anger. This is not about being careless. It is about refusing to treat uncertainty like proof. And this matters because overthinking often begins right here. The mind tries to turn emotional uncertainty into mental control. We will go deeper into that hidden pattern in the next video. Because it is one of the main reasons some people cannot stop analyzing even ordinary moments. For now, keep this sentence: I can be uncertain and still be okay. Number 3. Small mistakes feel huge when you learn to earn safety through performance. This can look like perfectionism. Not the cute kind where someone says, "I just like things organized." I mean the exhausting kind. The kind where you feel tense before submitting anything. The kind where you reread a message 10 times. The kind where you would rather stay quiet than risk being wrong. The kind where good enough feels dangerous. Here's the wild part. Perfectionism is often not about wanting to be perfect. It is about wanting to be safe. Some people learned that being impressive, useful, easygoing, smart, funny, mature, or low maintenance helped them avoid criticism, conflict, rejection, or disappointment. So when they make a mistake, it does not feel like a normal human moment. It feels like the safety system failed. The mind says, "Fix this fast, recover, explain, apologize, prove you are still acceptable." That is why one small mistake can create such a strong urge to over-explain. You may send too many follow-up messages. You may apologize for things that were not that serious. You may try to manage how everyone sees you. The cost is that your life becomes a performance review. You stop asking, "Do I like this?" You start asking, "Am I doing this correctly?" You stop enjoying conversations because you are monitoring yourself inside them. But there is a hidden strength here. People who feel mistakes deeply are often highly observant. They notice details. They care about impact. They can read the room. They are sensitive to consequences. That can be a superpower when it is not being run by fear. The switch is to change the goal from "make no mistakes" to "recover with respect." Healthy people make mistakes and repair them. Mature people misunderstand and clarify. Kind people sometimes miss details and correct them. A mistake does not cancel your character. Repair reveals your character. Number 4. Small mistakes feel huge when your inner critic speaks in the voice of old authority. This looks like having an instant harsh reaction to yourself. You spill something and think, "I'm so stupid." You forget something and think, "What is wrong with me?" You stumble over words and think, "I'm embarrassing." The speed of the criticism matters. If the attack arrives instantly, almost automatically, it may not be your true adult voice. It may be an internalized voice from past experiences. Maybe it sounds like a parent, teacher, coach, older sibling, friend group, or anyone who made mistakes feel unsafe. And here's what most people miss. The inner critic often thinks it is helping. It believes that if it attacks you quickly enough, you will do better next time. It believes shame will keep you alert. It believes harshness is discipline. But the cost is that you become afraid of your own mind. You do not only fear the mistake. You fear what you will do to yourself after the mistake. That is why small errors can feel so huge. Because the external consequence might be small, but the internal punishment is intense. The switch is not to fight the inner critic with another critic. Do not say, "I need to stop being so negative. I'm terrible at self-talk." That is just the critic wearing a different outfit. Instead, create a slower voice. A slower voice says, "I made an error. I can fix what needs fixing. I do not need to insult myself to learn." That sentence may feel unnatural at first. That is okay. A calm inner voice often has to be built through repetition. You are not trying to become someone who never feels bad. You are becoming someone who does not abandon themselves when they do. Number 5. Small mistakes feel huge when you believe relationships are fragile. This one is subtle. It looks like assuming one wrong move can change how people feel about you. You say something slightly off, and suddenly you imagine distance. You forget to reply, and suddenly you imagine disappointment. You make a small mistake, and suddenly you feel like you have to earn your place again. It gets weirder, because the people around you may not even be acting upset. But your nervous system is already preparing for disconnection. Why does this happen? Sometimes it comes from inconsistent relationships. Warm one day, cold the next. Approval that depended on mood. Affection that felt unpredictable. Conflict that was never explained. Silence that meant punishment. When connection has felt unstable before, the brain learns to scan for tiny signs that something is changing. So a small mistake feels huge because it seems like the first crack in the bridge. The cost is that you may become hyper-responsible for other people's emotions. You monitor their tone, you study their replies, you try to prevent disappointment before it exists. And slowly, relationships become less about connection and more about management. The switch is to test the belief gently. Ask, would a healthy relationship collapse from this? Not, could someone be annoyed? People can be annoyed and still care. Not, could this be imperfect? Everything human is imperfect. Ask, would a stable connection require me to be flawless? The answer is no. Real closeness has room for small mistakes. Real respect has room for clarification. Real trust does not disappear because you were human for 3 seconds. And this is where the deeper psychology of overthinking starts to show itself. Overthinking is often not about the topic in front of you. It is about the fear underneath it, losing safety, losing approval, losing control, or losing connection. That is why the next video will go beneath the surface of overthinking itself. Why the mind keeps looping even when you already know the answer. But before we go there, let's make this real. Imagine someone named Maya. Maya is in a group conversation after class or after work. Someone asks a casual question, and Maya answers quickly. Nothing dramatic, just a sentence. But right after she says it, she notices one person does not laugh. Another person looks down at their phone. The conversation moves on. To everyone else, the moment disappears. But not for Maya. On the way home, her brain reopens it. Why did I say it like that? Was I too loud? Did I interrupt? Maybe they think I'm trying too hard. By the time she gets home, the mistake has grown. It is no longer one sentence. It is a personality flaw. She starts remembering other moments too. That weird thing she said last week. That message she sent too quickly. That time someone replied with just, okay. Now her brain is not reviewing one mistake. It is building a pattern. Here's the strange part. Maya is not actually learning from the moment anymore. She is punishing herself with it. So she does what many overthinkers do. She drafts a message. Hey, sorry if I sounded weird earlier. Then she deletes it. Then writes it again. Then deletes it again. Because part of her wants relief. But another part knows the apology might create more awkwardness than the original moment. Finally, she pauses and asks one different question. What actually happened? Not, what could they think? Not, what does this mean about me? Just, what actually happened? The answer is simple. I answered a question. One person did not laugh. The conversation continued. That is it. Her body is still tense. But the story gets smaller. Then she asks, what would I tell a friend? And she realizes she would never tell a friend. You ruined everything, she would say. That sounds like a normal moment. You're probably okay. That is the moment the loop begins to loosen. Not because Maya gets perfect certainty, but because she stops treating her fear as the narrator of reality. So here's the reframe. The fact that small mistakes feel huge does not mean you are dramatic. It may mean your brain learned to protect you by detecting risk early. That sensitivity has value. It can make you thoughtful, careful, empathic, and aware. But your sensitivity should be a tool, not a prison. So the tiny action is this. The next time a small mistake starts expanding in your mind, write down 2 sentences. First, the story my brain is telling is. Second, the observable facts are. This separates fear from fact. The story is, they think I'm annoying. The facts are, I sent a message. They have not replied yet. That gap is where freedom begins. For the next 24 hours, catch one small mistake and shrink it back to facts before you judge yourself. And if this kind of clarity helps, you will like what we do here. Subscribe so you do not miss the next one. Because it connects directly to this, the hidden psychology behind overthinking everything. Comment one small mistake your brain tends to magnify. I will see you in the next video.